What's up? Welcome to the Inner City Innovators Podcast, where we will discuss marginalized communities and what it will take to bring true, lasting hope and transformation to the disadvantaged. Now, here are your hosts and hope dealers, Bashan Montal and Ricky Aiken.
Let's go!
Myself a round of applause. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we had a great week last week, but before we get into our week, let's get into highlights, challenges, and state of being.
All right, my highlight for today is we breaking apart the trip, which I thought was phenomenal. I want to thank you again while we live on air, man. This guy here, life-changing for me. I met Ricky, once again, for those of y'all who might just be tuning in, I met Ricky about 6.5 years ago while I myself was an at-risk youth inside of a juvenile residential facility. Ricky came in there with his heart, with his experience, with his story, man, and he planted a seed in me that will forever continue to blossom and you know, I'll reap more seeds to plant into other youth as we continue to do this work, bro. So I appreciate everything you're doing for me, for sure. You know what I'm saying? Open heart, open mind. I love that. So that's my highlight, being able to embark on that amazing experience that you provided for me just last week. One of my challenges or opportunities to grow today is maybe gonna be sleep. Man, I've been not getting up out the bed lately, man, and that's a present moment challenge for me. Like every day, you know, I struggle to get out of the bed now, and I'm trying to figure out why I'm not waking up feeling super empowered. I was just telling my boy, like, I want to know what it feels like to wake up and just feel like I'm ready to go without, like, knowing there's money to make or there's something to gain today. I'm just up, I feel good.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to that. I'm trying to, you know, implement some natural elements, maybe pull out some things, you know, that out of my daily leisures that could allow me to get some better sleep and wake up a little more fulfilled. For sure. I'm sure you could give me a lot of guidance about that too, bro, because you be up early with the sun and the birds, you know, rising with the morning sun. And my state of being is I'm still feeling the same as yesterday. I'm open and coachable. I think I'm going to maintain this state of being for a few days to come, a few weeks to come. As I pull in a lot. I'm out here with an open mind, an open heart right now, using more ears, less tongue, and just picking up, you know, on everything I need to have to make sure I can do this work with my best foot forward at all times, bro.
That's
for sure.
Real, bro. That's real. Thank you for sharing.
1,000.
I would say my highlights, which we'll get into, was the training we got to do last week. It was a phenomenal time with phenomenal people. It's always like a reunion whenever we get to go up to Baltimore and kick it at ROCA Impact Institute with our people from Philly, our people from Louisville. We all doing this work around the country, and it's very few people that you can go in a room with and feel like that they can relate to the work of gun violence prevention, and that's what we got to experience. So I'm still riding the high from that. I would say my challenge or the opportunity for growth for me would be taking all the information that we got and bringing it to fruition within the organization, like fleshing it out. And that's always the hardest thing. Those are the things that keep me up late at night because that's when my brain's the most refreshed. But balance, man, just trying to keep everything balanced. So that's my challenge, staying balanced, integrating all the great things we learn, and just pushing the work forward. I would say my state of being is I'm feeling exceptionally clear, almost too focused. I'm too focused. Well, I feel like it's not conducive to the energy I need on the podcast, but it's good because you know I'm gonna make it work.
Yeah, man.
You know I'm gonna make it work.
You just in one of those. I like to call it you in that mode right now. That's what I like to call it. Where you know most times we real open. You know we'll shoot the crap a little bit, but right now you just in that mode,
Focus,
bro.
Yeah.
That information we got was a lot, man. And let's get into it. So I want to ask you because I understand I showed up a couple days after you guys. I know y'all had a lot going on. So what did you get to experience in those first couple of days of you guys arriving, you know, just seeing the city of Baltimore? Let's go into all of that.
That's a good start. Let me pull back a little further. Basically, through one of our funders, Everytown for Gun Safety, they connected us with a larger organization, and that organization is ROCA Impact Institute.
Gotta make sure we throw that in there for ROCA. Shout out JT and Tone. Love y'all, boys.
Hell yeah, man. So they're basically what we want to be. Like, it's our dream, our vision. See, being in West Palm Beach or in Palm Beach County, I've never really seen the kind of organization that we're trying to become. So it's kind of, you're speaking a vision and you're working towards something that you've never seen before. But thanks to Everytown connecting us with ROCA, now I see the blueprint. I see what we can become. And what makes ROCA special is they're operating not only in Baltimore, I think they got a location in Boston and a few other places, but they basically focus on high-risk individuals. The young men most likely to perpetrate or be victimized, it's their target population. You know, that's who they focus on. And there where we get the idea of relentless engagement. So if you got a young man that is high risk to pick up a gun, their team is at his house, on the block, at his school.
In his face.
Yeah, whatever it takes to get that young person to know that there are resources, there are people out here that care and that want to help. And the most beautiful thing about ROCA is that they have the resources to actually help, right? We did a field visit last time we were here, and we got to go with some of their youth workers out into the community, and their reputation preceded them, man. Like, the young guys knew if they say they was gonna help you get your GED or your driver's license or sign you up for a trade school, they were really gonna do it. They were like a one-stop shop for a guy that was on the corner one day getting involved in gun violence and changing his life the next. They had everything in-house to do that, and that's my dream. I feel like in Palm Beach County, we don't devote enough care or enough concern to these issues. We talk all day about systemic racism, our racial legacy in this country, but we look at the cycle continue without nothing meaningful for the young men that are profound casualties of those larger cycles that we know exist.
Straight facts.
Going back up this last time, reconnecting with the staff and the other partner organizations from around the country, the first day was basically us just catching up, man. We really just caught up. The first day of training was us getting an overview of some of the things we already covered. Y'all ain't really missed much by getting up late. I kind of wish y'all came with us so that y'all can get the bird's eye view overview of everything we've done thus far. But like you said, man, shout out to JT, shout out to Tone. Like, it's such great work they're doing.
And I got to see them. I got to see firsthand what you said about ROCA having those resources in place. I mean, you know, we got resources too, but they got resources, like, and they have it, you know, available at their disposal. And that's, you know, that's what I look forward to for us, you know, just like you, to have all of that, all of those assets available to us and our youth at our own disposal. Like, man, and on our phone calls, like, we got it. We're making this happen. We going with that. So that was a beautiful thing to see, bro.
So let me ask you, being this is your first time encountering, you're just getting your start with us, what did you think of your time in Baltimore, ROCA, the partner organizations, the guys from Louisville, the guys from Philly? What was your feel walking away from all that brotherhood, man?
Man, number one, like I keep saying, I live in Florida. I'm from Florida. I haven't really left that much. So I'm thinking, like, you know, the brothers up in New York and Philly is like, you know, citizens of another nation or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking that our problems are so decentralized and, you know, it's different. Like, oh, in Florida, we got a different type. But that's how the internet can make things seem. I got to remember I'm young. I consume a lot of stuff still. But just hanging around those brothers, I'm like, yo, we all are going through the same thing. We all riding the same train, fighting the same mission from, you know, many different corners of the nation and the globe. So that was cool, number one, just to, you know, notice that we not alone in the fight. Like, we have, you know, other connected links and chains and groups and systems of people that's ready to go, man. We our own little army out here, and we just trying to grow on that. So that was dope. And then just the most notable thing was being in the city of Baltimore, Maryland, bro. That was my first flight.
Oh, that's your first flight ever, right?
Yeah, bro. That's why I told you, man. You feel me, bro? Love, bro. You know what I'm saying? First flight ever, man. Yeah, with the organization, like, let me brag a little bit, all right? Let me brag a little bit. So, boom, I get with this organization, Inner City Innovators. I'm about to go to the Bahamas for like 3 days. Let me just crossing for a cure. You know what I'm saying? Travis, phenomenal
Shout
dude.
out
Love
to
you for
Piper's
that.
Angels.
We're going to have a lot of round of applause today because we just did so much great stuff. That's phenomenal. Like, bro, I can't even recount everything, all the places we've gone, the speaking engagements, the people we've met, getting my passport, all of these things just coming at me like, okay, the Baltimore trip, I get on my first flight. Don't even have to do nothing, bro.
Right.
The ticket made for, got my
Show
own
up,
room in a 4-star hotel, you know what I'm saying? Eating dinner on the top floor, seeing like, okay, like, you don't have to be in the streets, bro, to live a good life.
Say it again for the people in the back.
You don't have to be in the streets, risking it all.
Right.
To live a good life. All I did was just live in my purpose and outside of my pleasure, team up with some people that were like-minded, that had the same goals and ideas, and now I'm just reaping benefits.
Right, exactly. And then you're kind of touching on something I saw at ROCA, right, where they recruit young men like yourself and me to do the work.
Right.
And not only recruit us to do the work, those guys up there are making enough to provide for their families and support their families. Like, they really bring a sense of value, a sense of respect to the work that I haven't seen anywhere else.
And that's exactly where I was going with that. Like, not to brag, to make it seem like, oh, we just this, you know, we these luxury people, but no, it's the experience that you provide to your team so that we can go out and be effective in the work we do. So we had that experience in order to make sure that the training, you know, we are comfortable, we're in a level-headed space, and we are mentally prepared to receive that crazy training that we receive. So that's why I said I wanted to brag on that, because this is my first time ever crossing the line like that.
Right.
And the way you prepared me for the training, I'm like, this is a great experience, but I see what's going on. This is mastery right here.
Right, exactly. And I want to give a shout out to Everytown for gun safety, because they were the ones that booked the hotels, booked the flights. We had some costs on our end, but they did most of the heavy lifting. And they're the ones that kind of orchestrated this. You know, Everytown for gun safety does a lot of advocacy work to reduce the disastrous instances of gun violence we see ravaging not only our communities, but our schools. You know, they support Moms Demand Action, who's a great national gun violence prevention agency. And they've been great partners and supporters of ours. I don't think Inner City Innovators could have seen the growth that we've seen locally without such great national partners, man. So I want to give y'all roses and thank y'all for creating these opportunities where we're able to go get trained and we're able to bring this organization, these systems, this education back to our community, because at the end of the day, it's all about saving lives. When I turned on the news, when I was in my hotel room in Baltimore, it's as if the first 30 to 45 minutes were all shootings. It's like they were all gun violence, black on black gun violence. And though that organization there, and it's doing such phenomenal work, it's doing the best it can, it doesn't, the needle doesn't move until more is done. Like I told people all the time, the conditions that make the gun violence we see in these communities, they didn't become that way overnight.
Right.
So they're not going to be solved overnight. But seeing ROCA showed me what a step in the right direction looked like. So I'm excited to bring that back. So the main reason we went up to Baltimore was for a reason, something I got on my keychain now. And it's called cognitive behavioral therapy. But it is a very unique therapy that was specifically designed for the high-risk individuals that attend ROCA's programming, right?
Definitely.
They had researchers come in and see how the youth workers work with the youth in the center, in the community, and they created a brand of CBT that can be used in the field with this demographic. And I've never seen anything this responsive before, as regards to what we'll be using. What did you think? And we don't have to go, we'll go in it step by step. But just generally, what did you think of the CBT, and how has it impacted you so far since you've gotten back?
Well, being that I'm a little bit mentally and, as far terms of awareness and things like that, I'm a little bit ahead of the at-risk youth that we working on. So that training, since I never had it before, it took a tenfold effect on me. I know it's gonna work on our youth.
Right.
Because of how it worked on me.
Right,
so I just want to say, like, a lot of things that they uncovered in the training, I'm still a youth myself. I'm only 24 years old.
Right.
I still deal with a lot of that stuff. I still, operate and act out of a lot of those cycles that they went into.
Right.
So I was just like, wow, I was blown away, because as much as I was, receiving a training, I was also receiving a new indoctrination of how I could think and process problems and move throughout life. And it was just great for me, bro. It was awesome. And then Tone, when we took our lunch break, Tone took me on a tour around the entire facility they had over there.
Right.
And it was great, bro. I'm just like, yo, look at this. They got this office, this person in charge of this, he in charge of that.
Social work. Employment.
The kids clean the
health.
windows. They picking up trash around the city out. So I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
They employing their youth. They doing all types of stuff. So just to see that, to see what we do on a, just on a larger scale, was like, wow. To see where we headed next and have an example of that, I was like, man.
Oh, yeah. And it's confirmation that we were on the right path,
Yes.
The number one, one of the number one symptoms and something that perpetuates gun violence is the trauma. There are many studies that show that kids growing up in communities of concentrated violence suffer the same types of PTSD levels as soldiers coming home from war, comparable levels. So I knew that whatever we were doing, it had to deal with that trauma. When you're growing up in a community that's always in survival mode, you're not really going to know how to thrive when you're outside of that community. And that's why social emotional learning was always on the top of the shelf for us. But seeing how practical this CBT was, which we're about to get into, was just beautiful. So ROCA CBT says anytime a kid is going through a problem or a situation, they're caught up in a cycle. Right? It's the think, feel, do cycle, right? You think a thought that makes you feel a certain way, that makes you act out a certain way, right?
Right.
And it's not always in that order. You could feel a certain way that makes you think a certain way, that makes you do something. And just like you said, you use it on yourself. I used it on myself the other day. I woke up and I was feeling like, I was thinking like, man, I got so much to do today. I started feeling overwhelmed. I'm thinking about all the things I need to do, and thinking like that caused me to feel anxious, right?
Right.
And I don't do good with anxiety. When I get anxious, instead of getting the to-do list and getting to it, I start procrastinating, right? But because of this CBT training, I saw the process. I saw that the thoughts were giving me anxiety, which were going to lead to me procrastinating, and I was able to break the cycle. So they say if you're caught in a thought pattern, right? It was the thought that led to my feel. You just want to find out where the young person or the person is in their cycle. And mine was, I was thinking about everything I had to do today. So they gave us these cards to remind us of the cycle, right? So I would go to thoughts, right? And one thing you can do no matter where you are in the cycle is get present, right?
Right.
Because presence breaks you out of the thought,
spinning,
the feeling, and the action, because you got to focus on the present
biggest
moment.
thing for me with the presence was the control. I was giving so much of my power away to being anxious about things that are ahead of me that I'm not even certain of.
Right.
And then being too connected to things that are behind me that have already happened that I can't change no matter how much I keep spinning myself out of control about it.
Right.
So I'm like,
simply getting present takes you out of that.
Right. It's like I'm in the middle, and then you got a marble here and a marble here, and they both just spinning around the present moment in a vortex.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I have no control over what's in the center.
Yeah.
It's all dizzy trying to keep up with those marbles running around. Right. So I'm like, right, bro, I become more present, then I have control over what's in front of me. Right. The conversations, the situations, the feelings, the thoughts, the actions right in front of me.
Right.
Because when I'm in the past, then I act out of the past.
Right.
When I'm in the future, I don't even know how I'm acting, because that's total uncertainty.
Exactly.
So I'm sitting there, I'm listening to JT breaking all this down. I'm like, it just hit me too, like bing,
Yeah.
bing, 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 bing.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. So I've been going through it on my own as well, and I'm just like, every day you learn something different as you keep going through it.
Exactly. So long story short, right? The cycle, think, feel, do. You get caught up in a thinking pattern that leads to feeling a certain way, to doing certain things. And they have basically 7 tools that you use to help a young person break the cycle. The first thing is you try to discern where they are in that cycle. But the tools are as follows. Tool 1 is be present, as you just spoke to. When you're thinking too much in the future or in the past, you're removed from the present moment. And in all actuality, the present moment is all you really have.
Right.
Tool 2 was label your feelings, right? This is big because every week in group, what do we do during our True North? Highlights, challenges,
Right.
what? State of being. State, label how you feel in the present moment. And we've seen the momentous impact of just labeling how you feel in the present moment and the results that had in their life. Number 3 is move it. Do something every day, especially when you don't feel like doing anything, to disrupt the spinning cycle over time. And that's obviously in regards to actions and do. The next one is act on your values. It teaches the difference between emotion-driven behavior and value-driven behavior, right?
And that
when I
was
was
huge
younger,
too.
I would react based on my emotions. I did what felt good. I was more impulsive. Now I'm more values driven. I'm acting in accordance with my personal mission statement.
As you should.
Right? The next one is stick with it. When we stick with it, our discomfort tends to decrease over time. So instead of giving up when you face an uncomfortable situation, just go with it. Hold on. Go a little further. And then you realize that you weren't weak. You're actually impatient. And you learn your strength and your ability to endure. And the 6th is flex your thinking. When our thoughts are not true or helpful, they can keep us stuck in a spinning cycle. By examining our thoughts, we can change them, right? So thinking from a different perspective, thinking outside the box. And the last one is to solve it, generate multiple solutions, evaluate based on what you value, and choose your best option and make an action plan.
Facts.
Right? So it's beautiful because even when we're in group, right, and a kid comes in and he's feeling terrible, like we would try to address it the best we could.
Right.
But now armed with these 7 tools or these 7 principles that are backed by science.
Right.
We can help lead our youth down to better outcomes at an easier rate than we ever have before.
Interesting. Great. And I'm glad you went through those 7 steps, because I think that was very important for any parents that may be watching to kind of be a frontline soldier with us in the homes.
Yeah.
Because I always like to say we only get a certain amount of time with our youth. They spend all their time at school, at home, and in their communities. So that's where we are reaching to really, put the rubber to the pavement and get this thing going, right?
Yeah.
So examples. Let's give examples of what it's like to be in the think cycle, the feel cycle, or the do cycle. So there's 3 ways that a youth would come to us in a traumatic situation, right? They'll come to us out of a traumatic thought process, a feeling process, or a do process or action, right? So an example, a youth might come to Ricky. I'm a youth. I might come to Ricky. I might say, dang, Ricky, man, I just think nobody don't care about me, bro. Like, I call, they don't pick up the phone.
Right.
I show up, nobody want to give me any help. I think nobody don't care about me, Ricky. That's an example of a mindset, right? So you are having
to certain feelings.
You are having some destructive thoughts about self and environment that are going to lead to some feelings. So because you think nobody cares about you, I'm telling Ricky, I think nobody doesn't care about me. That tends to make me feel like I'm nothing.
Right.
Now I feel worthless. Now I feel I don't have value in life. I feel I can't provide anything.
Yep.
So
what do hurt people do?
Hurt people. So that could lead me to do something about it. Go out and do some impulsive behavior to be liked, to have respect. nowadays suicide has become such a huge problem when people start to feel that they are nothing because they think nobody cares, so they go and do something that ruins everything, man.
And suicide looks different in our community than it does in other. Suicide ain't necessarily us putting a gun to our heads. Suicide is participating in such reckless behaviors that you're doing things that you know is going to cause someone to come and kill you. Also, suicide by cop is another example of that.
Right, and then, so that's just a little small mental example, right, of how thoughts lead to feelings that lead to actions. So now you, Ricky, you in the community, Dunbar Village, housing projects, coming up in the trenches. Let's put an example out there of what this would be like from a violent situation, from a situation of gun violence.
Right, absolutely, right. I've been in this before where we were having an event at Coleman Park. One car hit another and a dude got out and he was about to put his hands on somebody, right? And he's in the action cycle, right? He's already past the thinking and feeling. His thought is, this motherfucker done hit my car. He feels slighted. He's about to do something about it, right? And it was me, Norman, Nay, and a few other guys. And I remember I went over to the guy because he was kind of like the aggressor. And I remember I stopped. I tried my best because you don't want to exasperate. I don't want him to perceive anything I say as disrespect.
Right.
So, I take the low road, like, hey, bro, think about it. Is this worth it? And all I wanted to do for him is to frame it in a way where he could have his self-respect and walk away without losing that. Right? So the way I tiered the situation is like, they're not worth it, bro. This is beneath you, right? He can make peace with that.
Facts.
What we normally do in the community is you gonna let them disrespect you like that, right? We do the opposite. So it's using, and that's a principle in a way that I use based on intuition, but imagine our youth equipped with this when they know exactly how to quail it. They can see when their homeboy feeling it, or when they're thinking a certain way. Like the example you use, if someone's thinking a certain way, we are equipped to ask, well, when you think that way, how does it make you feel?
Facts.
Well, it makes me feel worthless. And when you feel worthless, what do you think you're likely to do? And they're able to draw these conclusions. And then you can shift the gear. Well, what's another way of thinking about the situation? You say, Mr. Ricky not calling you back made you feel worthless. What's another way of looking at that? Well, Mr. Rick probably was busy. It's not that he don't care about me. He probably had something on his plate, right? Then when you look at it that way, it has nothing to do with your worth. Right,
exactly.
So we're really teaching them how to see in a way that doesn't put any more psychological trauma or burden on them, man, because I honestly believe that a lot of our pain and our suffering in our lives is a result of how we see. It's our paradigm, right? If I'm looking through rose-colored glasses, everything that I look at is going to appear to be rose-colored, right? But if I change the filter on those glasses, so goes everything I see. So it's learning to see things in a way that empower us instead of takes our power away.
Straight facts, bro. And I love how you took that and you took that example and gave it with a different spin on the cycle, because you see how I led with the cycle of think, but you led with the cycle of do. He already passed the first two. He in the last one, so we got to try and backtrack with him. So it can become a very complex process, but now that we have that tool and we understand the simplicity of brain process, is this person in their top brain where they're making their executive decisions, or is in their lower brain where they acting out of survival and they acting out of, you know what I'm saying? So, and we have those tools now. But one last thing I wanted to touch on, which was the craziest point that I took from CBT ROCA in Baltimore. I took the implicit bias thing and ran with that, yo.
Go into how that impacted you, bro.
So
I'm curious to hear.
Showed us a picture, man, of a guy in a hoodie, and he had a ski mask type of thing, the winter mask on. We couldn't see skin color, we couldn't see hair type, we couldn't see nothing. So they go around the room, they like, what you think about it? What you think about it? Yo, everybody got a different answer. I see somebody who cold, I see a threat, I see this and that. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, How do they not see a threat? I'm
Right.
from Florida. It's 90 degrees outside. This guy's a threat to everyone.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they from Baltimore, though.
Right,
It be
right.
cold.
It's
like this
cold,
dude,
right.
you know what I'm saying? So that helped me understand how, based off our experiences, our encounters, and the way we was brought up, we can perceive the same thing as totally different. And I thought that was like crazy, man.
Right,
Because
right.
I was going throughout my life doing that, but not in a sense of being over impulsive or, over imposing of it, but not allowing myself to understand polarity views, that this other person has a different encounter, a different experience, regardless if I understand it, if I think I'm a master, none of that matters.
Yep.
They don't have the same background, experiences, encounters. They haven't heard the same words, the same.
Right.
So they're gonna perceive this as something based off of that, based off what they come from, what they know. And that was huge for me, bro. I was like, I can remove all judgment now.
Yeah, and you unwittingly stumbled upon my superpower, right? It was perspective. It was how we see. Like, most of the guys I grew up with, they saw our situation for what it was. Like, we were poor, we were black, we were in this community. Our daddies wasn't shit, we wasn't gonna be shit. That was like the mentality. Like, if your big brother sold dope, you were gonna sell dope, right? My difference was like my perspective, right? I started looking at my situation different. Well, I started looking at my life like a movie. Right. In every movie, it start off with the person in a bad spot. Like, you think of Pursuit of Happiness, right? Dude, life was a mess, bro.
Total
He
mess.
lost his car. It's like everything was down for the worst, right? Then what happened? He grind, he worked hard, he educated himself. And then the end of the movie, he won. So I started looking at my life like that. Like, I don't have relations with my dad. My mom's on drugs. My big brothers are in and out of prison. I'm not doing well in school. I'm in this community of concentrated violence and disadvantage. Instead of seeing that as something that was holding me down, I looked at it as something that was gonna make my movie that much more better.
Facts.
Once I overcame it.
Facts.
Yeah, here we are today. My story is what drives a lot of the work we do. So that goes into the power of paradigm, the power of your perspective, the power of how you choose to see. There are so many entities, political parties, all that will give us a way of looking at our situation that robs us of our agency, that robs us of our power, that robs us of our ability to take our fate with God's help into our own hands. And I'm against that. Like, you don't give me a disempowering model of reality.
Facts.
Give me one that I could work with, that I could take the hand that I was dealt and I could play myself a better hand.
Great stuff, Ricky.
Yep.
Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Before we wrap this thing up, I want to send one more special shout out to ROCA Baltimore, to Everytown, to Cities United, to each and every single sponsor, donor, supporter, volunteer, the parents, the youth, each person across the nation, the world, and the community that makes this thing possible, because we can't do it alone. There's a proverb I've been adhering to lately, and it say, if you want to go fast, get in the car, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So I appreciate the unity that we are able to have out here, because when we unite, then we could fight the right fight. So I just wanted to put that out there, man. Thank you again to ROCA Baltimore, for JT, Tone. Thank y'all for that phenomenal intellect that y'all gave to me and my team. Man, thank y'all.
Yeah.
Can't thank you enough, bro.
Absolutely. And I guess I'll close with this to all our donors and followers and supporters, man. CBT is just the latest on our notch, right? We've been doing a process called the Model for Intentional Change with our young person, where we help them identify their ideal self, then measure their real self, and come up with learning plans to get to where they want to be. All of our efforts are undergirded by the helper theory. You can look that up. It's the same theory that undergirds Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, which posits that if a young person or a person is involved in helping people who are from a situation that he's from, the helper derives a sense of self-efficacy and becomes more willing to make positive decisions that they normally wouldn't make. Right? And a host of other things that we do. Everything we do with our young people is intentional, is aimed at giving them the tools they need to transform their own life and become the change that they want to see in their community. So to all our donors, supporters, ROCA, Everytown, Cities United, everyone that we have the privilege of calling partners, we just want to thank y'all for supporting us, and thank all our listeners for tuning in. Without y'all, none of this wouldn't be possible. Peace.